What is up, guys? It is Joe. We are back. We're talking all about the Cats today, specifically on the basketball side of things today, as we break down the upcoming college basketball schedule for the Cats, talk about my thoughts about the home and home series, as well as the away-only games and the home-only games, and my opinions on the overall schedule, where I feel it lined up for K-State in terms of toughness and how manageable it is, so to speak. Before I do get into things there, let me tell you this. First things first, it's a different background. I'm back in KC for the time being. Pay no attention to it. The other thing I wanted to say is at 3,000 subs, so we're getting closer each and every day. I think we're about to hit 2,400 if I'm not mistaken. Once we hit 3,000 subs on the channel, I will be getting the Cat script tattoo on my left thigh taken care of. Once we cross 3,000, I will definitely be crossing that off the list and getting that done on the left thigh. There's a photo here up on the screen in case you don't know what it looks like. This is what I'm getting on my left thigh at 3,000 subs, so be sure and hit that subscribe button because it does help me out immensely, as well as gets to reward you a little bit with seeing me do something funny. But I'm going to jump right to it. First things first, this is a very, very winnable schedule. I'll be honest, we have a couple of the hard teams here and there, but for the bulk of it, this is a schedule that I'm incredibly okay with. Let me start off by reading you the home and away teams, the teams you'll play both at home and on the road. You play Arizona State, Cincinnati, Iowa State, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. Now, Iowa State, KU, we knew both those were going to happen, or at least it should happen every single season that K-State has a home and away with KU and a home and away in Ames as well. The other three teams, I was actually really happy that these guys aren't it's not a home and away series with Arizona. It's not a home and away series with Houston. It's not one with Baylor where you have to deal with both those games. I would say the best way to look at this, we got off lucky. Some people will be upset that, hey, some of these great teams aren't going to visit Bramlage. I'm not too worried about that in some of these cases. I'm here to win. That's the best way to say it. I want K-State to get to the tournament, be a top seed. And the easier teams we can play, I know that there's a lot of gaming the net conversations and different things like that. The Big 12 is still going to be a quad one opportunity for the top 12 teams in the league, give or take. So Arizona State, you can absolutely sweep them. That can absolutely be a game you win in Tempe and then you win at Bramlage. Cincinnati, I'm not going to sit here and say you sweep them. They're still a pretty dang good basketball team. I think Wes Miller is a fantastic coach. They've got a good squad, but I think K-State does have the team to beat them. You could win at Fifth Third Arena, and you could also win in Bramlage. Oklahoma State, you should sweep them. Let's be honest. Their team does not look good on paper. I don't know that Steve Lutz has really hit the ground running the same way that West Virginia's new coach has done, or some of the other coaches like Kevin Young for BYU have done. So there's at least 6 games you can win in the conference right there off the rip. Looking at the home-only teams, so the teams that you play only at Bramlage, you don't travel to their home. We take on Arizona. That's a godsend. You're taking on one of the best teams in the Big 12 Conference at home. That's huge. Colorado, they could be a wild card. I don't know yet. Houston is big. We went to Houston, got beat down last year. This year, you take them on at home. That's a big game. Texas Tech, you don't have to go back to Lubbock. You take them on at home. And then West Virginia as well. Don't have to go to Morgantown. You stay right there in Manhattan for them. And the away-only teams, you've got Baylor, BYU, UCF, TCU, and Utah. So all those games on the away-only, you're traveling to Waco, to Provo, to Orlando, to Fort Worth, and to Salt Lake City. So you look at that. You can win on the road at Baylor. It's not going to be easy, but Jerome Tang has done historically pretty dang good against his former team. BYU is still a wild card. I don't know what they're going to be like. I think they'll be still pretty solid, but I don't want to say that they're leaps and bounds better than anybody in the Big 12 yet. UCF, you can absolutely win in Orlando. They did beat KU there last year, so there's some question marks. But Fort Worth, it's Fort Worth. I absolutely hate playing TCU on the road. I think their court bothers me. It's just, as a fan watching that game, it's frustrating, but you can definitely win there. It's not a crazy environment. And then Utah. Utah's not going to win at home ever. So, you got a couple of wins up there. But if you look across the board, how to get to the NCAA tournament. In the past, Jerome Tang has said it's 10 wins in conference play. You get to 10 wins, you get to the tournament. That was basically true. I think it needed to be 11 considering Oklahoma missed the tournament. K-State missed the tournament with 9. OU got to the 10 mark and still missed the tournament. So you definitely need to have probably a couple more games this year. With there being a 20 conference schedule situation going, or 20 games in the home conference schedule, I'm not entirely sure how that plays out. I would probably say 11 wins get you to the tournament. You go 11-9 conference play, I think you get to the NCAA tournament. But that's not a guarantee. But if you can't find 11 wins on the schedule, I don't know what kind of schedule you're looking at. Let me look across this real quick, give you my thoughts on that. If we can find 11 wins, you get to the tournament. If you had to twist my arm, I'd say 15 wins you the Big 12, maybe 16 wins in a Houston world where they're going to be 16-4, something like that. I think 15 wins, maybe 16 wins you the Big 12 Conference. I think 14 gets you a split of the Big 12 title potentially. But find 11 wins on this with me. 2 wins, Arizona State. I think you beat Arizona State twice. Cincinnati, you at least split. There's 3 wins. Iowa State, you probably split. That's 4 wins. Kansas, probably split. That's 5 wins. And then Oklahoma State, you should sweep them. That's 7 wins. You should probably win 7 out of 10 games in the home and away series against those 5 schools. So you have 7 games there, 3 losses. You're 7-3 through home and away. Then you look at your home only. Arizona, toss-up, not a guarantee. Home against Colorado, I'd chalk that up as a win. There's your 8th win. Home against Houston, that's a toss-up. Tech, still a toss-up. West Virginia, I think, is going to be better than everybody realizes, but I do think you win that. That gets you to your 9th win. So you need 2 more games on the road here. On the road in Waco, it's not a guarantee. It's still a toss-up. On the road in Provo, I'd say that's a toss-up. On the road against UCF, I think that's a win that gets you to 10. And then you need to go 1 of 2, maybe even 2 of 2 with TCU and Utah. You're absolutely beating Utah on the road, but Utah's not going to beat anybody this year. And then TCU, you could still technically say it's a toss-up. I think K-State is significantly better than TCU. So my prediction at bare minimum would be a 12-8 season for K-State. That's going to get you to the tournament. I would bet you're a top 5 seed at that point, top 6 seed. And then if you want to find 15 games, 15 wins you the Big 12, let's talk this way. And we'll be a little bit more, less realistic. Let's be more optimistic, pro K-State in this case. You beat Arizona State twice. You have to beat Cincinnati twice. Then you got 4 wins. Iowa State, you've got to split at least. I don't think you're going to sweep Iowa State or Kansas. You're just not. So you get 1 game against Iowa State, 1 game against KU. That puts you at 6 wins. You sweep Oklahoma State, that gets you at 8 wins. You're home only. You got to beat Colorado. You got to beat 1 of 2 of either Arizona, Houston. I think you probably end up with a loss at one of those 2 games. I'd probably lean you beat Arizona but lose to Houston. So I would say you get to 9 wins with Arizona, 10 wins with Colorado, lose to Houston, there's your 3rd loss. You got to beat Texas Tech and you got to beat West Virginia. That gets you to 12-3. Then you're away only. You're looking to get to 15-5. It's probably the best way to say it. I still think you lose on the road at Baylor unless Tank can continue this magic against Scott Drew. I think you probably lose there, and you've got 4 losses on the season. You basically need to go 4-0 through these last 4. You got to win in Provo. That gets you to 13 wins. UCF gets you to 14 wins. TCU 15. Utah 16. Then you're 16-4 and you win the Big 12 Conference. That on paper is how I would take it. I would say you lose a game against Houston or Arizona, one of those 2 at home in Bramlage. You probably lose 1 of each series against KU and Iowa State, and then you probably drop the road game against Baylor. If everything works out, that would be my mark for 16-4. There's also a toss-up game because it's the Big 12 Conference. Home court is always something that's incredible. You probably lose 1 more in there, but 15-5 still gives you a dang good shot to win the Big 12 Conference. But overall, I think we lucked out with the schedule, man. I mean, you got Arizona and Houston at home. That's a big win. You don't have to travel back and play Arizona at home. You don't have to play Houston again at Houston. You don't have to worry about multiple games against Baylor. The only teams that you're like sitting there saying, well, dang, that's tough. You got home and homes with Iowa State and KU, but we all knew that was coming. You didn't have to worry about a home and home series with Arizona or Houston or Baylor for that matter. You just take care of teams like Cincinnati, Arizona State, and Oklahoma State. I feel bad grouping those 3 together because I do think Cincinnati is a much better team than Arizona State and Oklahoma State will be. I think when you compare head-to-head matchups, you probably have a better roster than everyone but 4 teams in the Big 12 Conference, if we want to be honest, and then you put it together, you can beat anybody in the league. Last season, you showed you could beat anybody in the league at home. It's just something about going on the road. So the road teams this year, on the road specifically, you play Baylor. That's probably going to be your toughest road game outside of like KU and Iowa State. I think those 2 would probably come to mind first. Probably KU's your toughest road game, Iowa State second, Baylor third. Then it's a combination of Cincinnati or BYU, and then you just have to beat Arizona State, Oklahoma State, UCF, TCU, and Utah. You can absolutely pull that off, and I think we got a gift from the gods with this schedule. Not saying this isn't going to be tough, not saying it's going to be easy, but this is a schedule you can absolutely win the Big 12 Conference with. There's a lot of teams like Kansas got a tougher schedule, Houston got a tougher schedule, Texas Tech has a tougher schedule. There's teams in there that are going to be, battling early, and it will depend on how things shake out, week-by-week basis. It's not going to be a situation where it's like, if you go Iowa State, KU, Houston, Arizona in a row, that's going to be a brutal stretch. But if you can spice up a couple, like there's a West Virginia game in there, an Arizona State game in there, then you go Cincinnati, Utah, that's going to be much better layout-wise, but it's the Big 12 Conference. Everybody's going to beat everybody at some point. If K-State can avoid any bad upsets and you take care of business in the games you're supposed to take care of, you can absolutely win the Big 12 Conference with this schedule. But just talking out loud, I think that's where we're going to be at for the upcoming season. I feel pretty dang good about where we're at. We'll see how this works out, and as we get a little bit more details, we'll get to talk about that as the schedule gets released. But guys, it's going to do it for today's video. Just wanted to talk real quick about my thoughts on the upcoming schedule. I'm very thankful for what we got, and I think there's going to be some good games in there from a fan perspective for traveling as well. But overall, I am very, very pleased with the schedule. But guys, if you got this far, be sure and consider subscribing. It does help me out immensely, and I'm getting that tattoo with 3,000 subs, so be sure and tune in for that. But I hope you all have a wonderful 4th of July. Thanks again for tuning in and watching. Be safe, be smart, have fun, drink some water. I will talk to you guys soon. Go Cats!